Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday morning to you all. I hope you guys are getting up and feeling great out there, feeling fantastic, having a great start to your day, and a great week out there so far as we're about midway through it. I got you an update on what's going to happen weather-wise for today. We're expecting some severe weather across areas of the south central U.S., southern plains. A flooding risk also, so we need to speak on that, and we'll get detailed for you folks in Texas, Oklahoma, even Arkansas, portions of Louisiana. We were expecting some active weather for today. There's a lot of areas that really need the rain. We'll see a lot of it today. But we are hoping that this rain will make its way west to east and make it all the way to states like Mississippi, maybe even Alabama into tomorrow. But we'll focus in on the weather for today like we always do. And then towards the end of the video, we'll give you an update on the tropics. We'll get pretty detailed. But guys, stay tuned for tonight if you want to. We'll talk about multiple things, not only the tropics, because it looks like portions of Canada could run the risk for a threat for Philippe to impact you guys as a post-tropical storm, and this could bring impacts for you folks. Even Maine, you got to watch out for portions of the Northeast also. So we're going to speak on that and get very detailed, talk about what's driving this, what's pushing Philippe up towards your way. We'll talk on that. And we'll give you an update just on the general pattern coming up. It's starting to really look like for the future that we are really entering kind of an El Nino type pattern where we have a lot of storm systems in the east and the southern U.S. So for you folks that have not seen rain in some time, we might have to continue to go quite some time without rain. I'm not talking about a month or anything, but I do see an active storm track setting up for portions of the country that have not seen a lot of rain. So we'll speak on that. We'll give you an update on the tropics, talk about anything outside of Philippe that I'm seeing. So stay tuned for tonight. We'll talk about multiple topics and also give you an update on this cold front that is coming. So with that being said, if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it, and if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below. If you ever consider joining the channel, we have 42 members, trying to make it to 50 by the end of the year. So thank you for folks who have decided to support me in that way by joining the channel. It means a lot. So just always want to say that every couple weeks. Just throw that out there for you folks, and thank you for considering. Thank you for people donating through PayPal and Cash App. All that stuff just means the world, and I hate that I cannot respond to you guys sometimes. It doesn't give me an email to email you folks. I'm big on appreciation, and I want you guys to know that I love and appreciate the support in that way. And just thank y'all for tuning in. All right, we're almost on 3 minutes. Let's keep rolling here. I'm rambling. All right, so this is what's going on out there right now. As you can tell, a different view. We're not just showing the lower 48 this morning. We're showing areas of the Pacific, the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, the North Atlantic, everything like that. So if we look in the middle of the country, we got a lot of activity ongoing. Nothing too crazy, nothing severe. It's basically all the leftover activity from yesterday and last night's storms sort of surging through the middle of the country, bringing some rain, even some storm action this morning. Nothing too crazy, but we will watch Texas later today as the atmosphere gets basically rejuiced up with this upper trough that's making its way through the middle of the country. This is not the upper trough and associated cold front that is really going to bring that abrupt pattern change we've been talking about. That is moving through portions of Canada right now, and will dip into the northern portions of the lower 48 over the next 24 hours, and we'll begin to have a surging cold front that moves through most of the country. A big weather story that's really developing, and it's been a tricky system, guys. Meteorologists, the professionals, even just weather enthusiasts like me, it's been a storm that I haven't talked about much, haven't shown a lot of love, but Philippe has just done his own thing out there. At one point it was forecast to kind of just go straight up out to sea, maybe even become a major hurricane. And then the forecast, and this is Philippe, this is what we're talking about right here. I want to make sure you guys know what I'm talking about. At one point it was forecast to maybe just weaken and kind of head into the Dominican Republic maybe. And then it was forecast to go back out to sea again. Well, it has just continued to just kind of drift westward. And it's because Philippe has ran lower on the strength scale, if you will, than forecast, which means, we've talked about this many times before, a weaker storm likes to get pushed around more by these steering currents in the lower levels of the atmosphere. So therefore, the steering currents in the lower levels of the atmosphere is more so west rather than north. So this it being forecast to become a stronger storm never happened, which it would feel those higher steering currents. And it just doesn't feel that. That's why it's been drifting west. Now, for you folks in like Cuba, The southeast, sneaking into the Gulf of Mexico, I don't think this is going to happen. I think this is going to get picked up by another steering current influence in the atmosphere, and we'll speak on that tonight. But I do think this is eventually going to turn north, and it's going to bring impacts to Bermuda now. Bermuda is fully in the cone and eventually affect portions of Canada and then maybe Maine. So we need to speak on this. But this is what's going on right now. It's very active in the Eastern Pacific also. We need to watch this area here in the next several days, and we'll speak on that in tonight's video. So that's what's going on right now as far as what's falling from the actual sky. We got rain in the middle of the country. We got some light rain moving through portions of eastern Iowa, western Illinois. We got some heavier rain, even some storms in southern and southwest sections, maybe around the Joplin area, Springfield area of Missouri. Got some storms in northeast Texas, some heavier rain. I think this area of Texas will get a lot more rain later today. And we got a cluster of storms in the panhandle of Texas. A little bit of light rain, even some snow in higher elevations in the Rockies and Colorado, and a little bit of rain up here in the northern portion of the country. Outside of that, it's pretty quiet. A little bit of downpour action moving into the east coast of Florida, and same thing kind of between the Houston and Victoria region down to Corpus Christi. We got more onshore flow activity ongoing this morning with some rain waking you guys up this morning. As far as the Storm Prediction Center, pretty active day. Could we get a bump up to an enhanced risk? We could, so I'd watch out. I'm making this video as around 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Another update will come out around 8:45, 9-ish Eastern Time a.m., so we'll watch for that. But there is a pretty big slight risk that goes from western Texas all the way through the heart of Oklahoma, and we're expecting some big-time storms today in this region. I think in western Texas, they'll have a chance to be a supercell in nature at first, and then we'll basically cluster up into a linear type setup, meaning a line of storms, and eventually sweep across areas of Texas and Oklahoma, and we'll get detailed with this. But there's a level 2 out of 5 risk right now. This slight risk, dark green, is a level 1 out of 5. Tornado risk, just a large 2% risk. This goes from Fort Stockton all the way up to Oklahoma City, and everybody in between. This does include Dallas also. Wind threat, not only do you have the 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour, you also have a 10% risk of significant winds, which is winds exceeding 65 knots or higher, which is like hurricane force winds and miles per hour reading, which, it's like 75 miles per hour. So these storms are going to pack a punch a day, and even hail, guys. We have a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger, but with these supercells that initially get going with this storm development, you can also get significant hail, which the Storm Prediction Center considers 2 inch in diameter or larger. You have a 10% risk of that in this black outline region. We call this a hatched risk area. So we'll watch out for that. And then just with the fact that northeast Texas is already getting rain this morning, we're going to get more today as this energy that fires up in western Texas kind of clusters up. And we're going to get a lot of rain. I know Mary lives in northeast Texas. You need to watch out. You're going to get a lot of rain throughout the day. Starting this morning, you're already seeing rain, then more rain later this afternoon, later this evening into tonight. There is a moderate risk. That's pretty serious. So we need to watch out for flooding. This does include the Dallas-Fort Worth region. Okay, so this includes a very small section of southwest Arkansas, southeast Oklahoma, and pretty large slight risk also, which goes from the Texas coastline all the way up to southern sections of Missouri, all the way back to Oklahoma City. So a lot of rain expected. That red means there's a 40% chance of flash flood guidance being exceeded within 25 miles in a given location. And that's why you got flood watches up for that same area and the moderate risk. You even got flood watches up, like I said, between that Houston and Victoria, Texas region. We're expecting more rain. We've already received a lot of rain, more rain expected today. Some dense fog advisories in PA this morning. So let's talk about the southeast first. Relatively quiet day. You'll see a lot of action come on this part of your screen here in a second, but we'll talk about that in the south central time frame, or geographical region stamp, if you will. But this morning, same sort of setup in Florida today. I think we'll get isolated to scattered downpours that will drift in from the east coast of Florida, move across the peninsula, and then all the way to the west coast of Florida. And we'll just have pop-ups that drift through the state. We could have an isolated downpour that tries to make it to the Wilmington, up to the southern Outer Banks region. We'll see if that happens. But this is where a lot of the action's starting to move in overnight. And I think we'll wake up tomorrow morning with maybe some rain entering Louisiana. And then maybe we get into tomorrow, and we'll speak on this a little bit tomorrow. I'm sorry, in this evening's video. I think for you folks that, really need the rain in Mississippi, I think you'll have a chance. You're not going to get a soaker, I don't think. Let's hope you do. But I think we're going to get some rain from this that does kind of rejuvenate itself sometime tomorrow morning into tomorrow afternoon. The Northeast, quiet. I'll give you guys your 15 seconds of fame. I don't think it's going to stay quiet. I think the Northeast will be a heavy topic coming up over the next few days. So we need to watch out for the Northeast, especially with whatever Philippe does. Philippe will lose his tropical characteristics, but will still be the potential for a high-impact storm for someone in the Northeast, into Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island. Newfoundland needs to watch out. All these regions of Canada need to, be aware of this. And we'll speak on that here in a second. But as far as weather for today, it's really quiet. Nothing going on, maybe not even a drop of rain. Different story in the south central U.S. We will continue to have this funnel of moisture, like I said many times, between Houston, like Victoria down to Corpus Christi. But, I really think it's just going to be a very small slither of an area, if you will, a very small area where you just continue to get storms that move on shore in this area right into here of Texas, kind of down to south the coast of Houston. Like I said, I would say, let's see if we can try to, like near the Lake Jackson area, Bay City, what is that, Matagorda, Campo, Rosenberg. You guys need to just watch out for just continuous feeds of storms throughout the morning, afternoon. It definitely could be an issue with flooding. At the same time, you're going to probably have more showers and storms that developed in northeast Texas, southwest Arkansas, extreme southeast Oklahoma. More storms, heavy downpours will form. And then there's a lot going on. You stop it here, it's around 6 p.m. Central Time. You got big storms exploding in western Oklahoma, big storms in western Texas. You got storms up here in southern sections of Missouri, big storms in western Kansas that could produce some large hail. This is probably not going to be talked about as much, so I'd watch out Kansas City later on this afternoon, this evening. And and then these develop into a pretty powerful line of storms, move through overnight, and then we'll wake up tomorrow morning. So let's get a closer look at Texas and Oklahoma. Not a whole lot going on this morning, but there's that rich funnel of moisture between the Victoria and Houston region. A lot of rain falling in northeast Texas into southwest and southern sections of Arkansas. And then here comes the big storms ongoing. They start to pop up, up here near the Lawton region. Not Lawton, I'm sorry, that's Oklahoma. Near and just east of Amarillo, big storms are possible. These could drift into the Childress region. And then they really get powerful as they drift into western Oklahoma. And this is around 5 p.m.-ish. All right, these start to ride Interstate 40, get into the Weatherford, Oklahoma region, affect Lawton, affect you folks in Elk City, Mangum, all the small towns and communities right here in western Oklahoma. These storms are powerful. Then you got more storms firing behind this back into Texas. Then this is when you watch out for these isolated supercells in West Texas. They could produce large hail, damaging winds, and certainly an isolated tornado. Plainview down to Lubbock, Midland, Odessa, Fort Stockton. You guys down the Interstate 27 corridor. You guys, big storms could fire up. You might not get a drop of rain, but there's a chance you could get, a damaging hailstorm also, and maybe even a tornado. So you got to be aware. These will drift, and as you can tell, they've already turned into a pretty monster line as we're making our way into the 6-7 p.m. time frame in Oklahoma. You could get a powerful line of storms that sweeps through Tulsa to Oklahoma City, all of central Oklahoma, southern Oklahoma, sometime later this evening, sometime around the 6 to 9 p.m. range. And these even develop more so into a linear look down into Texas. So you got storms all the way up to the Kansas-Oklahoma border, all the way through the heart of Oklahoma. And this is around 9 p.m., all the way down the Red River, all the way down into central sections of Texas. You got Abilene being impacted. These are sweeping through, and they start to kind of straddle the Red River right there. And then I would say the Dallas-Fort Worth area needs to watch out around midnight and just after for some storms that could wake you up in the middle of the night. And then more rain falls on top of already the waterlogged areas of a northeast Texas, where you guys probably at this point already picked up a good bit of rain. More rain will move in overnight. And we still got the training of more storms back here in Texas. More storms firing up here. And then we'll wake up tomorrow morning with probably a weakening line of storms pretty much just draped across central and south central Texas. So these storms could produce all hazards, guys. I mean, you look at the updraft Felicity swath, there's going to be embedded rotation in these storms. I would really watch out this area of Texas right into here. Okay, these are the storms that I really think have a chance to produce a tornado. That's not a high threat even up here in Oklahoma. I think once they kind of get into this region, they will turn more so linear. So we need to be, if you get under a tornado warning, there's a chance that it's not going to be one of those photogenic tornadoes. There's a high chance that, especially if it forms later in the day, that it could be rain wrapped. You might not see it, but if you get a tornado warning in this kind of earlier storm mode, I do think it'll be supercell in nature. You'll visibly see it. Just be aware if your area gets under a tornado warning for sure, guys. You look at the wind speeds with these storms, I mean, they're going to produce some damaging winds. Some of these storms, I mean, with any supercell, that's a high-end thunderstorm, okay? It's a rotating thunderstorm, a lot of wind energy associated with it. And, I mean, you see this line of storms and the wind that it's producing into the overnight hours into Oklahoma. I mean, 50, 60 mile per hour winds are possible. Some areas will probably see more, and you see very strong winds in the heart of Texas, North Texas, Central Texas, Southwest Texas. So very gusty winds. You know, if you're in this entire area where you see this, be aware that if you do get hit by a storm, it could be damaging. Up here, as far as the rainfall totals, I mean, between what's falling right now in the next 24 hours, guys, there's certain areas in northeast Texas that you see 4 to 5 inches of rain throughout the next 24 to 36 hours, I would say. Okay, even look up into Arkansas and surrounding regions. A lot of rain could fall. All right, western, northern Arkansas, you guys, 1 to as much as 3 inches of rain as possible. Southeast Oklahoma, same sort of deal, maybe even a little bit more the more tucked in you get into southeast Oklahoma. So a lot of rain is going to probably fall. All right, and some of this rain will be entering the Shreveport region. We'll see how much rain you guys can get. The north central U.S., for the most part, is pretty quiet. You got energy moving out of Canada. We'll see what this does. So you guys could see some showers in the UP of Michigan today. Not a whole lot of anything. Some of this might be heavy at times or moderate rainfall. Not a whole lot's going to happen, but some showers could form right over the UP, maybe areas of northern Michigan. Later this evening, maybe another area of downpours could make their way through the UP of Michigan. It's very possible. And then this is when energy associated with our upper trough that's going to dig down to the central and lower and then the eastern U.S. Is going to move down. You got an associated shortwave trough, which is just think of that as energy associated with this trough digging down. This is flying through the region. So later on tonight, in the middle of the night, we're probably going to get some shower activity that moves into eastern North Dakota, central and northern Minnesota. So you'll kind of go to sleep with maybe dry conditions, wake up with a lot of shower activity. And this starts to develop, and this could be a storyline into a full, all-out, like mid to upper level cyclone. Kind of an upper level low associated with this upper trough, low pressure associated with this upper trough. So you got this associated cold front with this, and then an actual low pressure. So this begins to strengthen. Not sub 1,000 millibar low pressure, mid-level trough up here, low pressure. And this is going to bring a lot of weather across areas of the country. We'll speak on this also tonight. There'll be many topics to speak on tonight, so stay tuned. But we're waking up to some downpours and some heavy rain in northern Minnesota. And if we keep this going, this will kind of just straddle just north of the U.S.-Canadian line. And we'll see what this brings. But this is going to bring its cold air with it, okay? And might be some interesting times up into the northeast with this cold air. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about even some snow. Okay, the western U.S., pretty quiet. Showers associated with this upper trough that begins to dig into the lower 48. So we could get some downpours, shower activity, maybe even a clap of thunder and northern and central sections of Montana. It's very possible today. These showers kind of just screech across the middle of Montana into southeast Montana today. But outside of that, I mean, this energy will probably make it into northeast Wyoming. But outside of that, it's a pretty quiet day. And tomorrow, same kind of deal. You wake up to some shower activity, higher elevation snow in Montana. Temperatures hanging on to these last warm days for dear life in the Great Lakes region, the Northeast, the Southeast, the Deep South. Cold air is coming, not from this upper trough draped across the country right now, but for another one that's moving into Canada. Well, it's already in Canada, about to move into the lower 48 over the next 24 hours. So if you're a warm weather fan and you see these 80s in Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, yada, 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 enjoy the warm weather. I mean, look how warm it's getting in areas of the southern tier, Finger Lakes of New York State. Enjoy the warm weather if you're a warm weather fan. This is we got a back-breaking cold front moving through as far as that warm air. All right, western U.S., below average temperature still, but you're starting to warm back up in the extreme western areas of the U.S. In fact, I'm losing my voice here. In fact, the valleys of California is starting to get back into the 90s. So you're starting to warm back, but still on the touch cooler side out here. So let's give you an update on the tropics. Philippe is the storm of interest out here. At one point, I never thought Philippe was ever going to be a threat to anybody, but it's already been a threat. In fact, it was causing a lot of flooding in the northern Leeward Islands, a lot of issues, and it's producing a lot of shower and storm activity across areas of Puerto Rico and the British Virgin Islands, and still probably over sections of the northern Leeward Islands. You guys let me know if you're tuning in from that region, what you're seeing. But Philippe is a 45-mile-per-hour tropical storm, very weak, has remained weak, never has hit hurricane status, moving northwest at 9 miles per hour. So technically that actual low-level circulation is drifting northwest now, but as you can tell, it continues to pop off convection. A lot of this deep convection where you're seeing the white and pinks, I mean, this is over areas of landmass like eastern Puerto Rico, the British Virgin Islands, and you still got convection over sections of the northern Leeward Islands. So this will eventually move on out. This has been a tough forecast and a busted forecast. I'll 100% admit it. This has been tricky. This just goes to show you that we have a lot to learn. That's what, and I'm not about, you know me, guys. I'm good for at least one off topic on a video. That this alone is a huge reason why I do not do winter forecasts. People always are asking me at least once or twice a week, Mitch, when are you going to do a snow forecast for the winter? When are you going to do a winter forecast for the winter? I don't do that, guys, because I think that it's just all bogus. I think it's a shot in the dark. I think if you wait to do it till about November, I think that's when you can really start to see what the winter could do. But these people who jump on YouTube and make a winter forecast in like May, June, and July or something for the upcoming winter, it's bogus. And it's not a knock on people who do it, but they just basically say, all right, it's going to be an El Nino, so that's going to favor active storm systems in the south. And I can do that until the cows come home and tell you, you know what, I think this area could see more snow. But we just don't know enough about the weather, in my opinion, to make a reliable seasonal forecast. All right, we can barely figure out what the weather's going to do 2 weeks out. So people do that because it gets a lot of views. People eat those videos up. They love it. And I don't blame you, because I was there too. I used to love those winter forecasts. I watch them and be so interested, like, man, it's going to be an awesome winter. And 95% of the time I was disappointed. All right, so just be careful with those videos, guys. Sorry for getting off into my tantrum there, but I don't do them because I don't believe in them. I think it's just bogus. I think it's a shot in the dark. It literally is. But anyways, let's get back to talking about the tropics, not winter. So this is Philippe. All right, so let's look at the latest cone from the National Hurricane Center. Like I said, Philippe, tropical storm, and we're not going to look at the cone from the actual National Hurricane. So this is the same one. It's just on Zoom Earth, which I love this site. Forecast to remain a 45-mile-per-hour tropical storm, will strengthen into a 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm. It should. It's forecast to do so sometime tomorrow, and it could make it all the way to as strong as a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm again. This is when, sometime Friday, we expect impacts to really get cranked up in Bermuda. Bermuda is a tough community. They're built well. We talked about that when we were talking about Lee, to handle tropical systems, and I don't think you guys will have any issues with a tropical storm, but you guys are firmly in this cone now. So we need to watch for impacts. This gets north of Bermuda. I would say Bermuda, you start to feel the impacts as early as Friday morning. But we'll see if that tweaks some. This continues to pick up a lot of speed. Why? Because it starts to get yanked by an upper level low associated with this upper trough. We're going to speak on all this tonight. Stay tuned. And this begins to get yanked not only just due north, but northwest. All right, so this begins to get pulled right into Maine, start to affect areas of Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and areas like Prince Edward Island, into the Newfoundland region. You guys might not get impacted at all from this. Might just get some rain, but the actual center of the storm, I mean, we got to watch out in Maine again. Okay, here comes another storm, St. John, the Halifax region. All these regions right in here need to watch out here in Canada and then the northern sections of the Northeast. So I think you guys start to see impacts from this as early as maybe Friday evening into Saturday. So we're going to figure this one out for you guys and get more and more detailed when we know details, which we're already at Wednesday. So we're going to have to start getting detail with it tonight. But the latest GFS, very weird. It almost shows a double barrel low pressure. It's just two low pressures. Looks like you've got some sort of low pressure trying to develop here. Then you got the main storm right here, Philippe, Bermuda, right into here. Okay. And they're just kind of following each other. And eventually one becomes dominant. And this is where at this point, you got a big push of moisture already into the northeast, western areas of Nova Scotia, New Brunswick moving in. This is getting into Saturday evening. And here it comes. It's a very weird look. Okay, some kind of upper level low associated, and these kind of combine with one another. Those are the things we need to figure out. But I think there's going to be a lot of moisture and even maybe enough cold air with this wraparound action and this low that gets trapped. Look at this strong low pressure over sections of Canada. And enough cold air that gets wrapped around. Look at the blue on your map. Even into the Adirondacks, even into Vermont, New Hampshire. Okay, we need to watch this for Sunday. Higher elevation snow, is it possible? Absolutely. But we got to figure out the details. Very weird setup coming up for sure. All right, European, here it comes. Bermuda, this kind of, Philippe just sort of dances around Bermuda. Same kind of deal. You got two pieces of energy fighting to become the dominant energy, and then one does become the dominant energy, and this is a much stronger look than the GFS. This brings a pretty powerful post-tropical system. Tropical systems lost its tropical characteristics right into the down east areas of Maine, but of course Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, areas of Canada seeing the impacts from this. But this plows right into the down east portion of Maine. So for you folks wondering, Mitch, when are you going to get detailed? I'm going to get detailed with you guys, I promise. But you see this 540 line? This is in the upper levels of the atmosphere. This indicates a lot of cold air aloft. So you see this green in this 540 line? That does not mean it's snow, but it means that this is a chilly rain, and it could be some snow mix. We need to figure out what this pocket of cold air associated with this upper level low is going to do. It's very interesting. Latest European ensemble, basically all these members now have this going into Atlantic Canada. Okay, so we need to watch this. We need to figure this one out for you folks, and we do. And thank you for the loyal the loyal viewers that we got in Canada. It's really awesome to see Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland. Thank y'all so much. You guys are always so kind. I always struggle with the word province. I was actually trying to practice it. That's why I've kind of not said it in the video. Province. I'm not a naturally good speaker, believe it or not, which sounds crazy considering the fact that I'm a guy on YouTube that talks to an audience. But that's why you hear me twist so many words up. I've kind of force-fed myself to get better. So that's why I get so tongue-tied all the time. But thank y'all for being patient with me, understanding, being polite, being kind. It means the world. You guys have an awesome day. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. And I'll see you tonight.